elderly gentleman is whom? Those who know him. Brother Hines, who is 90 years old. His birthday was in June. You may not have seen him that often because although he is fit and well, he had a stroke some years ago and is not as mobile as he would like. But mentally, physically, he is well. And if we were to do an arm wrestle, I'm sure he would beat me. You know, because he does a lot of physical activity, goes into the garden on a regular basis, most days actually. And the children are his grandchildren. He has 17 grandchildren, 17, yeah, and they are 5. 2 old ones are my children, Abigail and Louis, and the 3 younger ones are Robert's children, who is here at the moment from Florida. Yeah, they're going to a funeral next week. His mother-in-law passed away a few months ago, so they're here now to go to the funeral. But why am I showing you this? Brother Hines is 90 years old, and he's still relatively enjoying life. He's done quite a few things to enjoy life, and he lives with us, by the way, and I often ask him, what's the secret of long life? And he will say, I'm alive. How are you? I'm alive. What's the secret of long life? I'm alive. Yeah, but can you explain? I'm alive. All right. And sometimes I might get a bit more from him, and he might say something like, God is good, or something like that. But he doesn't really go into any detail, real detail, you know, which I would love to take away and bring to you today. But we shall establish a few principles on how to develop, to achieve good health, and how to maintain it. But the great thing is, at 90 years old, he's able to enjoy life still. What a blessing that is. You understand what I'm saying? It's a blessing to have life and have a life abundantly. He still eats twice as much as I do. He's stronger than I am and goes to the garden every day. He studies his Bible every day. Every day. For hours, right? And so I agree with you. That indeed must be the secret. But, you know, he doesn't verbalize it, but he is doing something to maintain eating well, studying his word of God, and being faithful to God. Right? So he's still able to enjoy life. And that's what I would like to do, God willing, if I reach 90 years old. I would like to live 90 years and more without the ill health side of it. You know what I'm saying? So, my father-in-law, I haven't got a picture of my father. I have a picture of my father, but my father died prematurely. And I know many of you know my father. And he died prematurely at 57 years old. And I remember very well that he died of cancer. And I think it was bowel cancer. But he suffered ill health for 20 years. And I remember when he was 36, I was 12 at the time or thereabouts, we were taken on holiday. Every year we would go on holiday up to Leeds. And we would always spend 2 weeks there. And my father dropped us off, and he came back, and he was half the man in 2 weeks than he was when he dropped us. Shock. And I'm not sure if at that point he knew what was wrong, but he went to a hospital and he was told that he had diabetes. He had diabetes. So, wow, you know, it was a bit of a shock. My father was he was probably overweight prior to that. You know, in those days, you had 2 plates of food, didn't you? You had your what you call it, your starch, but then you had your relish, you know, on another plate. And my father was well looked after, but probably ate too much, but we didn't know that. But after he was diagnosed with diabetes, he was very, very careful with his diet. I remember everything he used to weigh, never ate an ounce more than he should. Very diligent. But the doctors gave him medication. Medication. We told him that he shouldn't be eating sugar, so he didn't. And he had saccharins instead. Saccharins. Right? Now, we know now, and probably they knew then, that saccharins are cancerous. Right? And this is the thing. If only we knew then what we know now, I personally, my father would still be alive. Because we know that drugs, there are side effects to every drug. Not just some, to every drug. And there were side effects to the drugs that my father was taking, but he didn't know it. We didn't know it. Caused, I guess, the insulin to do whatever it's supposed to do. But eventually it caused cancer. And then after, I don't know how many times he had the cancer growth, but I was told, I think, on the 3rd time he got it, because they didn't tell us that he had it the first 2 times. It was kept a secret. And it was only after he had the 3rd episode, when it grew back, that they took me to one side. And I remember I was at Highwood Road, where we used to live as children, when our children were children. And I remember him telling that he had cancer. You can imagine how distraught you would be. And then he was in the garden, and he says, I've had it a few times, and I'm not going to have an operation again. And I thought, wow, I kind of burst in tears and kind of went away. But the thing of this is that he was diligently following the instructions of the doctors. He did. But if only the doctors told my father that changing your lifestyle would make the difference, I'm sure he would have done it. And I believe today, if we follow the laws that we have been given, and if we live a certain lifestyle, we will live healthier and longer lives. Do you agree? It's a fact. It's a proven fact. And I know that there are scientists among us, but it's proven that if we live a certain lifestyle, we will reduce the risk of getting these common diseases, and we will live healthier, happy. I want to live till I'm 100 if I can. I've not had the best health, but I must admit I'm feeling much better at the moment than I have for years. And I'll tell you later on why that might be. But Brother Hines is living quite happy. Now, last year was the 70th year of the NHS. It's a great institution, probably one of the best national health services in the world. And I must admit, I've been in hospital 3 times. The first time was when I was 7 years old. And I spent 6 weeks, and it seemed like a lifetime. It was like a lifetime in prison. Because in those days, things were different to what things are now. You were kind of put in a room away from everybody else. I don't know if I had a contagious something. I think it was something that I can't remember what I had. But, so there I was, 7 weeks or 6 weeks in this prison. No one could come in. And then they pumped me with drugs again, a whole heap of drugs, and I came out and I was a bit better. But did they look at the cause? No, they didn't. I know what the cause was, because the cause was that I ate meat, I know that, and that affected me. But I also was taken to what we call a nanny in those days, a childminder. I don't know if you know, childminder. And childminder, we didn't have kind of laws and regulations in those days. You went to a childminder, and the childminder, even though my mother said, don't give our children pork, they didn't give us pork, but they gave us burnt toast with dripping. You know what dripping is? White dripping, pig's fat, right? And we used to put it on thick and gulp it down. It was sweet, and we thought it was wonderful. It was shocking stuff when you look back at it. But we gulped it down, regular, every day, you know. And I'm not saying that that was the cause of my ill health at 7 years old, but could well be. And then the second time when I went in hospital was when I was 40 years ago, and I went into hospital, and again, I was on my back for weeks and end in hospital. And they found that I had ankylosing spondylitis or something or another. Something about the spine. Well, but they pumped me with drugs again. I've been full of drugs, me, right? So a whole heap of drugs again. And to be quite honest, I've never really fully recovered from that episode of being in hospital. Never fully recovered. But that was the second time. The third time, we went to China, Lucy and I, and we came back, and I was dehydrated. And one day, Lucy came back from work, and she says, you look like you're about to die. I says, I don't feel too well. And she took me to the doctor, and the doctor, he was shocked as well by my appearance. And he instead of booking me in to get a blood test, he took a blood test straight away. And I went home, and an hour later, they rang me up. You know, anytime you've gone to the doctor and they ring you up an hour later, there's a problem. And they said, you need to go straight to the hospital because your kidneys are packed up. I thought, ooh. And you know what? Why my kidneys had packed up? All the drugs that I had taken during my lifetime. So the kidneys had packed up. And then they pumped me with some, I don't know, drops and stuff. And eventually, something happened, and lots of prayers, and the body started kind of fighting back. Great. And so that was, I don't know, 8 years ago. But this is the thing. We are given drugs, but there are always side effects. And you need to remember that. When you're taking drugs, be very careful. Be very careful. Now, last year, I know that this sounds pretty bad, but I don't have the best of health. And my father has 2 or 3 brothers and sisters, and they've all passed away. And my father, my mother has 6 children, and they've all passed away. My mother is the only living relative after my father and my mother. So maybe I don't have the best genes, but I still intend or hope to live till 100. Well, I'm hopeful. And so last year, again, I was ill, right? I was so ill last year, I couldn't walk. I was on crutches last year. I couldn't walk a step. I looked like 90. Some people say I still look like 90, but to be honest, I felt like I was 90. Brother Hines was faster than I was at going around. And we went to a European convention in Budapest somewhere. And we went there because of Manaus. And on the way back, we planned to go to another wellness center to experience what it's like. I couldn't get around there. And so we went to this second one, and they diagnosed me as having a tendency towards motor neuro disease. They said, you're going to have motor neuro disease. I thought, oh dear, you need to come to us and we'll sort you out. They didn't say you had it, you are likely to get it. I thought, okay, all right, it's going to cost you $5,000 to come back and stay with us for a few months. I thought, you know what, that's pennies. You know what I mean, when it comes to your health. So we flew straight back home. I drove back, automatic car. I drove back, and we stayed at this place, which is Bible Way Lifestyle Center for 3 months. And when I left, I wasn't doing cartwheels. I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't. In fact, I only felt a little bit better. But ever since, which was last year, this time last year, I made one promise, and that was, if I get out, and if I feel better, whatever I do, the following year, I would take part in the sports day, which was 3 weeks ago. And I said, even if, this was last year, even if I walk around, I will take part. And I haven't got the picture, but I've got a picture of me hopping around. I came last, but I took part. You know what I mean? And it was a 1,500 meter, which was, I actually ran around. But what was that due to? I no longer take drugs, refused to take drugs. Because when I went to the doctor to ask them what was wrong with me, this was last year, they said, take some more drugs. I said, I'm full of drugs. I don't want to take drugs no more. And I refused to take drugs. So I went to this wellness center, and two things that's made a lot of difference. That is 3 things. Stop overeating, eating at the right time, not eating at night time or late, and only having 2 meals a day, right? But there's other things as well. So the NHS, fantastic, but they deal with the symptoms and they don't find the cause. Do you follow what I'm saying? So if you've got a headache, they'll give you a tablet to kill the pain, but what's causing the pain? Is it because you're not drinking enough water? Is it because of stress? They don't ask questions like that. Just give you a pill. Right. So, life expectancy at the moment in England is, for women, it's about 83 years or so. For men, it's 3 to 5 years shorter, right? But the problem is that although we're living longer, was you aware that most people live the last 10 to 20 years in ill health? Now that is a problem. We're living longer, but the truth is that many of us are taking longer to die. And so I was interested, why is it that women live longer than men? Does anybody know? Why is it that women are more active, or is it that men are more active? You look after the men. Got the thumb, the men are under the thumb. Well, we don't know. There was a theory, and I don't know if you can see that, I can just about see it. There was a theory that men work harder. This is a pretty old theory, that men work harder, and due to it, we suffer more stress. I don't know how true that is, but biologically, behaviorally, we're different. Biologically, we have testosterone. Apparently, that thing in us makes us age quicker. And there was something not so long ago, actually, there was a Japan research, and the eunuchs there who had their testicles removed, they actually lived longer than the women. So there may be some truth in that. And the women, and the men, you know, of the same culture, they live 20 years less than those eunuchs. Women also have estrogen. Estrogen apparently is a hormone that is healing of the cells. So I understand that might make a difference. Behaviorally, men take, what does that say? Yeah, I smoked once. It made me so sick, I never did it again. Never did it again, you know, once as a child, never did it again. It also says that the men have a tendency to drink more and overdo things more. We tend to overeat more. We tend to be more risk averse. We take more chances. We drive faster. We do silly things. We take risky sports and activities. And so maybe that's the reason why we don't live as long as women. And I don't know why. Can you read that one? Oh, yeah, we don't go to the doctor that often, do we? And Vince mentioned yesterday, somebody's got the hand up at the back. Somebody's talking about, sorry? I'm not hearing. Can you hear? Would you like to come to the front? Yeah. Yeah. Look, this was a theory. Yeah. Yeah, this was a theory. I don't know if it was right or wrong. I'm not saying it is. It was an opinion, and it was a pretty old one. And it's probably sexist. Probably not true. It was, so I would not, there is no evidence of that. But what we do know is that biologically, women are all over the world tend to live longer than men for one reason. But one thing that I want to draw, thank you. Sorry? Yeah. Yes. That is a fact. Yeah. 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 Women are certainly working as hard, if not harder, than men. But what I would also say, but that gap is still maintained throughout the world. So even though the women are maybe working as hard, if not harder than men now, truth of the matter is they still live longer. The gap is still the same. Yeah. Yeah, the behavior makes a difference. Right. But the point that I want to bring to your attention is that we don't get checked up. You know, if a woman has a problem, what do? They go and find out what the problem is. We don't. We suffer. We suffer. In fact, we go to the point where our leg will drop off, our will drop off before we go to the doctor. And that's a problem. I've got a car at the moment. I hear something grinding at the back. And no, I don't stop. I carry on. Yeah. It'll sort itself out. Because I don't worry about cars. If it drops off, then I know about cars. I'll put it back on again. A woman, she will straight away take it into the garage and get sorted out. And Vince mentioned yesterday he doesn't like having blood tests and having that needle put in you. I went to we did a presentation a couple of weeks ago. I did one at a Man's Day, and while I was there, I was in the toilet. I had gone to the toilet 3 times, and I was concerned that maybe I had got something with my prostate. And I said to a guy who was in the toilet as well, I said to him, I wonder, I need to go to get a checkup. And he says, I had an invitation to have my checkup, but I'm not going because I says, why do you want to go and have a checkup? He says that because I'm fearful of what they might tell me. Well, that don't make too much sense. Because what if you've got something wrong? What if you've got something wrong? You will never know until it's too late. Because apparently, things like prostate, if you've got a problem and you catch it early, it's the easiest, apparently, cancer you can sort out. But this guy says, no, sir, I don't want to know. I thought, boy, yeah, I thought, no way. But because I was going to toilet as regular as I was, I went to a check last week, and my PSA is 1.5, which is good, I understand. The point is, we need to go and get checked. We do. And because we suffer from all these kinds of illnesses, arthritis, hypertension. You know that we as black people suffer from hypertension probably more than anyone else. We have a tendency for that. There's evidence for that. Diabetes, strokes, we suffer from all these. We have more cancer, we have more prostate problems, bowel problems, coronary heart disease. We have, and this is one that's catching up more than anything else, the dementia thing, Recently, that is catching up and beating everything else. And some would say, I prefer to have my arm cut off than lose my mind. But that is getting worse. And why is it? Most of these common diseases are down to lifestyle. They're down to lifestyle. And again, if we changed our lifestyle, those problems would go away. Not just creep away, they would improve. And so I want to say this, that we need to go to get checkup men, right? And there was a survey that was carried out, and 76% of the men who was asked the question, what was your first car, right? What was it, model, was it? And 76% of the guys were able to say exactly what it was. And you can remember, and I certainly can remember, right? And the same survey asked the same people, when's the last time you went to the doctor? And you know what, they couldn't say. Can you remember the last time you went to the doctor? I can, because I go fairly often because I'm not so well. But point being is, that was my first car there, right? Or something very similar. It was a Mini Cooper, right? It was a 1963 Mini. Oh man, I loved it, and I looked after that Mini. I maintained that Mini. I pulled the engine out. I fed it with water, fed it with the right octane gas, like Rachel was saying. You see, I looked after that car like it was a baby. And you know what? I think about that, and during the early part of my life, I did not look after my health. I do now. I take it very serious now. One, because we've got Manor House, but two, I want to enjoy my grandkids. And by the way, next week might be the first ones coming on. Now, don't tell anyone, because Leon says, don't tell no one, Dad, right? So, but I want to be able to enjoy the grandchildren, and those who have got grandchildren, you know what I mean. Huh? So it's a joy. It is, isn't it? I want to. You got loads. Yeah, but you want to enjoy. You want to enjoy life. Yeah. Congratulations, Sister Miller. Yeah, I know. I've seen pictures of your latest grand. Yeah. It is gorgeous. But the thing is, right? If we can maintain our cars as we do, this is a manual that I used to use. The same is it the Haynes manual? They do it on men's health now as well. Do you know that? And they tell you about your health condition. Yes, it does. And it tells you about all the common diseases and how to overcome it, how to improve it, etc. Very good manual. I have that manual, and there are one or two things I don't agree with, but generally speaking, it's quite good. But it's interesting that they've developed that. From car maintenance, they've gone to man maintenance now. Because most people, when they've got a car, they don't maintain it themselves now, do they? We just take it into a garage. Ain't got time for it. But so they do that now. But this is the thing that's made so much difference in my life. And I believe that it will make a difference in your life. And I'm sure it does if you follow it. And we all know about it. Is there anybody not come across this acronym, New Start? Is there anyone who has not come across it? You've not come across it. New Start is, we believe, derived by somebody within the church, Seventh-day Adventist Church. But it's based on the spirit of prophecy, Ellen G. White. These principles are based on the Bible and have been clearly revealed to Ellen G. White. And there was someone some years ago, based on her writings, have come up with this acronym, New Start. And it is something that if we follow, it will help us maintain a healthy life. Nutrition, I no longer eat meat. I'm not saying everybody should do it. Everybody's different, but I do not. I don't overeat. I eat, as I mentioned, only twice a day. So it's like intermittent fasting. It gives the body to recover. And for me, I don't have to cook. Lucy does all the cooking, right? And I'm not proud of that. But I did something when I first got married. I said to Lucy, I cooked something for Lucille, and it didn't go down too well. And she wagged her finger This is 33 years ago. She said, never do that again. Don't go in the kitchen. I thought, wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And I've never been since. Advice for young people. Men, if you don't go in the kitchen, the first meal that you cook, make sure it makes your wife sick. The point being is, she actually is very, very careful with the nutrition. I've also found that exercise is extremely important, and I make sure every morning I exercise. You know, even if I don't want to, I still do it. And you don't have to do it for long. You can only exercise. Maybe sometimes you only have to exercise for for 5 minutes. But the point being is, if you walk, if you do gardening, these two exercises are the best type of exercise. But the idea is you need to get your heart going a little bit faster. If you're just walking at a steady pace and you're not increasing your blood pressure, then you ain't exercising enough. You need to get the pump, you need to get the circulation going. So I kind of, you ever heard of HIITs, those who do HIITs? It's like you exercise for as hard as you can on an exercise bike for 45 seconds. And you take a break for 90 seconds, and you repeat it maybe 3 or 4 times. And it takes maybe 7 minutes for an exercise session, and that keeps you fit. But I exercise maybe only 15 minutes a day, but it makes so much difference. Water, do you know how much water you should drink? It's about 8 liters. 8 liters. Approximately 8 liters. Oh, 8 glasses. 8 liters. You know, if you did 8 liters, it would probably do too much harm. Too much water. So I do apologize. And temperance is very important. You can even do good things too much. And so 2.5 liters, 8 glasses of water, 10 glasses of water is sufficient. Sunshine, I try to get away. Do you try to get away each year if you can? Spend a bit of time in the sun. We know that's important, and it's important to avoid anything that's harmful, smoking and drinking and any bad habits. You know, if we can stop them and replace them with good habits, as Lucille mentioned yesterday. But don't overdo anything. Don't even overdo the good things. Don't overdo the water. Don't even overdo the vegan food. Don't overdo the exercise. Don't overdo the sleeping. Air, I don't know how many of you sleep in rooms that have windows open, but you do. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't like it. But can you imagine, you know, you're breathing all that stuff in your room and you're inhaling it. It can't be very healthy. And Lucy used to have a window open. I told her to shut it. But recently, you know, we have it open all the time. I'd rather be cold and get a bit of fresh air. I remember Brother Sweeney, Colton Sweeney. I remember he used to say that one of his secrets to long health, good health, was get up every morning and breathe deep. Breathe deep first thing. Morning, catch a whole heap of, you know, it's good. Get out in the fresh air and get some air. Oxygen, as you know, we can live for months without food. We can live minutes. Is it water we can do without for, is it days? But water you can do without for days. But when it comes to oxygen, you can't do without oxygen for more than minutes. For minutes, right? So air is very important, that we get good air, not stale air. Rest is very important. But you know you can get too much rest. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. You know you need to get at least 7 to 8 hours. But if you don't get enough rest, it's not good for you. And if you oversleep, it's not good for you either. But trusting God is very important. And if you haven't got the strength to cope with all the different things that we've been talking about today, God, if we have trust in God to help us to do the things that we have difficulties with, this is what we call trusting God. We trust in God to help us to make the changes that we need to improve our health. We have a God in heaven that loves us, who cares for us. And if we trust God as we should, then we will follow the laws that he gives us. We know that God will never let us down. And do you know there is research that proves that those who go to church on a regular basis live longer than those who don't? Again, research proves that. It's a social aspect, I think, as well. But it's also that we can trust in God who cares for us. And so, this is, or was, Manor House. Oh, and we clicked onto Manor House, and there is a video. And can we just have can you? This is a video. You'll notice that Lucy does all the talking here, because she's quite good at that.
Manor House is a health education and wellness centre. It's a home-like retreat where people can come. They can come as a day health guest, or they come as a residential guest, and they learn about how they can look after their bodies. So the passion for health ministry started back when I was 15. I was baptised and I was given a compilation of books. And in those pack of books was one book called Counsels on Diets and Health by Ellen G. White. And when I was 15, I started reading that book. It took me a little while, but by the end of reading that book, I became a vegetarian. And that's when I started becoming interested in health. I trained to be a registered nurse. I'm also a registered health visitor. I've got a community health nursing degree. I have done a Masters of Science in Public Health. So I've worked in the NHS since 1984, and I sort of still dabble in it at the moment. 2014 I did a medical ministry course, Wildwood's course called the Lay Institute of Global Health Training. And after that I started practicing and working with people. Certain conditions respond better to lifestyle changes than to surgery, drugging and radiation. We do not use drugs because when we use drugs they are synthetic, they are toxic to the system, and oftentimes they just change the nature and the location of the disease. So our focus is healing the body and getting to the cause of the issue.
Lucy's husband Arthur picked me up from the train station and brought me here, and they were very attentive. Sister Lucy helped me in my eating, exercise, water, and she directed me on how I should eat, and the exercising and walking all tied in. Everything that we ate, we either picked it ourselves, mostly, and the juicing, the green juicing, we picked ourselves, and she did our vitals, and on the screen, she put up where we are, where we need to go, how far, and it gave me encouragement to keep on. Before I came here, I was diabetic. I was taking 3 metformins a day. Actually, tomorrow my doctor's going to have a conference with me to take me off, I believe, the pills altogether, because my diabetes has gone down so low that I don't need the pills any longer. There's no sense coming if you're not prepared to go with the program, because the program works.
So our health guests, when they come, they first get a health consultation and a health assessment. We do a body chemistry, and we do lots of the routine things which your GP would do. So we weigh them, visceral fat, blood pressure, and then based on those assessments, we see what's happening within the body. We also are able to identify the wrong habits that people may have that may contribute to their specific health condition. And then based on that, we then tailor, it's like a lifestyle prescription or protocol, which sets out when they should be exercising, what types of food they should be eating, what time they should be eating those food. And of course, it's all tailored to that person's specific work schedule or college schedule, or how they live their life. Wellness centres should be like home-like retreats. So we live here, some of the rooms bedrooms as ours. So it's just like a home, but on a grander, bigger scale. So we've got a kitchen, but it's a big demonstration kitchen. We've got a dining room, it's a big dining room. This is our lounge, but we use it as an education lounge. So our healthcare sit here, they look at the presentations on the screen. We also have treatment rooms as well. So we've got 2 treatment rooms where our guests can be attended to. We also got a gym. So everything's a bit on the bigger scale. So Manor House is located on around 2 acres of land. So we've got a lot of land behind us. So last year we planted a lot of produce, as much as we could, and it produced abundantly. But we also want to be able to feed our health guests from our own gardens, and then we know that the food that we're giving our health guests is the best that nature can provide at the moment. So at Manor House we have a team of people working with us. We have our head of therapy and treatment, who's Alice Miller, trained. She's worked with Barbara O'Neill. She spent time in Misty Mountain, so she does a lot of body alignment and assessments as well. We have male and female therapists who do massage. We do have a fantastic chef, qualified chef. She's plant-based as well, and some of the foods she produces is unbelievable, tastes fantastic. So the range of conditions, we have quite a few people with high blood pressure and diabetes, type 2 diabetes. We tend to work with those. Type 1 is a bit more tricky, but certainly type 2 diabetes, especially if they're on medication rather than insulin. We also work with, we've had people with cancers, different types of cancers, prostate cancer, lupus, had people with lupus as well.
And people who have come also because they want to prevent illnesses, people who wanted to kickstart their health program as well.
Yes. Manor House is open to everyone, yes. So you don't have to be religious whatsoever. They must know we are Christians, or we operate on Christian principles. And it's important for us to highlight that healing comes from God. It doesn't come from us. So when we do have any intervention, before we do a treatment, before we do a health assessment, we will pray. But no, we've had quite a few non-Adventist, non-Christians come into the centre and as residential guests. 4 types of services we provide at Manor House. We have the day clinic, which operates from Sunday to Thursday. So people can come for health consultations, for one-off treatments, colonic, for massages, for other treatments. We have the residential programs. So we have the Restore to Health program, where people come for 7 days and they are taught about health. They get health assessments every day. They go on health walks. They have plant-based food. They're taught how they can incorporate all the health principles in their life. We also have short stays. So if people want to come for 2 or 3 days, they can do so. And then we have tailored programs. So people who've got specific health challenges where they may need to stay longer than 7-10 days, they can come and we provide a tailored program to their specific health problem. Okay, the best way to contact us is through telephone, mobile, or through email, through the website, which is at the end of this video.
That's Manor House. So let's see if there's a next slide to go on. That's Manor House. On this. Ooh, that is the steps that we would take, and I can't read it from here, but this is the step that Lucille takes. If someone is ill, this is the steps that Lucille follows. We don't diagnose. most people come and they say that they've got a problem, be it a headache, be it diabetes, and we find the cause. What is the cause? And we do that by a health consultation. Everybody gets a health consultation, and Lucille carries out a body chemistry analysis. And it's a bit like magic, actually. She's able to find out or tell you what the cause is. And with that, she will encourage you to remove or stop the wrong habits and educate and motivate you and establish correct habits which are based on the 8 laws of health. Most people require a cleansing of the body, and we do that by the foods that you eat, by fasting, hydrotherapy, and therapeutic herbs. Lucille is also a colonic hydrotherapist, a qualified colonic hydrotherapist. So those who need the inside clean out, you can do that as well. And then we rebuild the body and strengthens it. And I can testify that the 8 laws of health works if we adopt it carefully. If any of you have got a problem, if any of you got a challenge, I can testify that by following the 8 laws, and there's leaflets outside that please take, by following them, your health will improve. And so I just want to close with a few texts. Shall we read it out together? Psalm, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. Psalms 139:14. And we can trust in man, we can trust in our doctors, but here it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. I will praise you, for I am, and that is a repeat, and this is the one that is being repeated on numerous times. 1 Corinthians 10:13. So whether you eat or drink, or whether you do it all in the glory of God. And we started with this task. If your child came to you or nephew, what would you say to them? What would you say to them to advise them or help them to choose a healthy lifestyle and to maintain a healthy lifestyle? Just think of one thing. What's the one thing that you would share with them? What is the one thing? Please share with us. What's the one thing that you would say you must do in order to obtain good health and to maintain good health? What is it? Be very careful what you consume. Some people say you are what you eat. Some would argue you are what you digest, because if your digestive system is not working right, then it's not going to make much difference. Is there anything else? What else would you say? What would you advise a young person? Take care of yourself. Yeah, be moderate in all things. Be not excessive. Is there anything else? Sleep well. And do you know why? Do you know why it's important to have adequate sleep? That's right. It gives the body the opportunity to rebuild. If you don't sleep sufficient, do you know that your body rebuilds itself more than any other time during your sleep? And the optimum time to go to sleep is 10 o'clock, because they say that 2 hours before midnight is worth double the amount. Yeah. Any other suggestions before?
I was just going to build on what was said back.
Mm.
Yes, be careful about what you eat,
Mm.
because it's just as Rachel was saying
Yeah.
yesterday, and you've alluded to,
Mm.
what we put in today
Mm.
is going to have an effect
Wow.
on, later down the line.
Mm.
So get them early to start thinking about, what they're eating
Yeah.
and drinking,
Yeah.
because they can defend themselves properly.
Yeah. I used to love Rachel talked about she loved chocolates. I used to eat bars of chocolates and biscuits, digestive biscuits. All these things are not good for us. We have to be careful what we consume. There's a hand up at the back. What? Sugar. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Mm. Avoid sugar. Avoid sugar. Yeah. Sugar is a poison, you know that. Yeah. Any small amount of sugar. Yeah. Thank, thank you. Thank you. Both of you, you had one point. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. 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 Yeah, there are some people who need less sleep than others. That is a fact. But reality is, Margaret Thatcher coped on what, 3 hours, 4 hours a night. But how did she end up? She ended up with dementia, didn't she? So we can actually, I'm not saying that caused her, because I don't know. But what I do know is that we can get away with, we have this thing called something force. We have a force in our body which enables us to cope for many, many years, and then it breaks down, you know. And so maybe she had the ability to sleep on many little hours, but it paid, it paid the price. She paid the price later on. So all I'm saying, I understand that 7 to 8 hours is the ultimate time, the right time. And sleeping 10 hours or 12 hours is too much and does the same negative effect. And so thank you for your advice. David. Think positive. Yeah. Apparently, if you think positively, what is it? 90% of what we believe comes from 90% of all diseases start in the mind. So if we think positively, it will certainly help us. Yeah. A merry heart is good as like medicine. And what's the opposite? What's the thing? What drives the bone? A miserable person drives the bone. So keep. I'm closing with this. This is what I would suggest. Those who are fortunate, choose yourself someone who's going to look after you. I understand my son, who's married, he does most of the cooking. So I'm not saying that you have to be the woman to cook. But there you are. Check your health regularly. I'm suggesting, it works for me, eating a plant-based diet. You understand that? It works for me. And everybody's different. Keep active. You know how we used to always advise our children to have a job that was in an office? I wanted to be a mechanic, and my mom said, no, probably do something else. But she didn't actually say that, but I saw the frown on her face. But I wish I was a mechanic. I wish I did become a mechanic and a builder. I tell you what, I might have been healthier. Drink 10 glasses of water, go on regular holidays, avoid anything that is harmful, don't overeat. I used to eat so much. I do not eat out now, and I don't overeat. Go to bed before 10 o'clock if possible. And there was one last one, wasn't there? Trust in God, keep a smile on your face. Is there anything on there you would disagree with? We have run out. I'm glad that Rachel has come. I've taken some of your time. I'm sorry about that. Is there a question before we go? Is there just a a quick burning question you'd like to share or ask, or a comment that you would like to make before Rachel takes over? I'm glad that. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your contribution. There's some more leaflets out there. And may I close by simply saying that in October, we have a men's retreat. And we have specialists. You know, obviously I'm not a specialist, far from it. But we have specialists and doctors who are going to be running that retreat. And if anybody has any ailments or needs some support, please take a leaf or have a word with me. For these specialists will help you, men, with all manhood problems, will help you to perform as you should. And Lucy can actually help as well. But we're encouraging people to attend that 7-day retreat. And may God bless you all. And God bless your ministries. Thank you.
Good morning still. I want to suggest that you guys take a maybe 5 or 10 minute break so you can clear your mind a little bit and maybe go to the bathroom, drink some water. 5 minutes, yeah. That's true. We don't want to run too late. So do you guys want that break or you don't want that break? You just want to keep going? What do you want to do?
Stand up, shake up your head.
Those that need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom just for a minute, drink some water, stretch, and we'll start.
You okay? Yeah, quick pass. Yeah, start to run a bit longer. Yeah, no, I was watching. Yeah.
You by any chance have change for 20?
No,
10.
no, I forgot my wallet even. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
What about the book? Did you
Yeah.
put my book in?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Got that. Yeah.
So we need to, when we're done,
Yeah.
it's up to you whether we go and have lunch with Chris or go home. It's up to you,
Yeah.
because my luggage is there.
Yeah, we'll go
My
back.
stuff is
Yeah, we'll
there.
go back.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we'll
that's
go back.
depending on the
Yeah.
time.
But I know I ran out of the house.
That's all.
Yeah.
It's not there.
I haven't got anything before. They're not really. We'll sort it out. Please do. Yeah, you must do. Okay, Rachel, we're ready to fly. We're ready. Leon. Oh, Leon, it's about a year and almost a year and a half. Yeah, you know that my grandparents listen. Yeah. She's not far, you know. It's in Loughborough. They're not far. Yeah, it'd be nice. About time. If we get this, yeah, yeah, but everybody knows that. Yeah, I'll mention to them. Wow. Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I'll just, I'll go, like I'll tell Rachel just to briefly introduce me.
Because how you gonna say it.
Thank you. Oh, you want to sit down? Oh. we're now going to do a last presentation, and it is on how to overcome, how to change our habits. And this manual, as mentioned yesterday, helps people to change their habits. It's a manual, it's a workbook. Rachel, we help come over, but she doesn't get paid, and it's a ministry. And needless to say, everybody needs to live. And Rachel makes her living from the sale of her books. That's how she does it. What I would suggest is that when we leave this place, each one of us have a look at this book and see what is in it, and see if it can help you as an individual. And if you can I strongly recommend that you purchase this book. I know that the church, Rachel, can you remind me what the price of this book is? Yeah, can you please explain? Yeah. Rachel will explain it more specifically. I know that as a church, we want to buy some of these books, Leicester Central, because they want to do an outreach and use it as a tool. Because the health message is the opening wedge, third age of message, the open wedge to God's gospel, the right arm of the gospel. And so indeed, we will, God willing here, using this book to help people change their habits. But I want just to promote this book, and if can, try and purchase one. Can you say a little bit more about it, please? Thank you. All right.
Before we start, I would like to invite God's presence again to be with us and open our minds and hearts. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your love and care and for your mercies that you pour upon us every day. Thank you for the good night of rest that we had, and that we were able to come back here and learn a little more about how you created this amazing machine that is our body, and how you want us to have plentiful health to share with others through the knowledge you have given us. So please help us, Lord, to fulfill your purpose for us. And forgive us, Lord, where we fail. Help us to be ready for your soon coming. And now, please use me, Lord, to deliver your words, how we can change things in our lives that are so difficult to change, but with your help we can change. Help us, Lord, to honor you also with what we eat and drink. Thank you for always being there for us. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, we're going to be faster today. I know yesterday you were with me in the afternoon, almost more than 2 hours, or almost 2 hours. So today, I'm going to speak about our habits and how difficult they are to change, but how we can change by God's grace, how our mind works. So before I start, I want to say the verse that I want you guys to memorize. I want you guys to make a big poster and put it in your refrigerator or in the cupboards, wherever there is food or drinks. This verse, because it will help you to be mindful. It will help you to be conscious before you put anything in your mouth. So let's say it together. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. There are the 8 laws of health that I know you're very familiar with, and I'll keep repeating because that's one of the techniques we use in our program, and is one of the best techniques to learn and to retain information is repetition. It's amazing what it does to your body. It creates neural pathways. That's what we're going to talk today. How our habits are formed is the repetition of habits that become pathways in our nervous system. And the more you repeat, the stronger they become. So then you do it without even thinking, automatically, because it's been there for so long. So the first thing to understand how our brain works is everything in our life starts with a thought. Everything. It may be a fleeting thought, unconscious thought. Everything starts with a thought. And you feed on that thought, it becomes a feeling. You feed on that feeling, it becomes a behavior. So the behavior is the last part on this process. It's not the first one. So if you have feelings, whatever feelings you have, the source is the thinking. And no matter what kind of medication you may use to feel better, it will never change your thought. The thoughts need to be worked with. Medications will help if you're suffering depression or anxiety. You know, at certain times you might have to take medication. There are natural medications, but sometimes it doesn't work, so you might have to go and take some drugs that many of them are addictive and they have side effects, but sometimes you might have to for a short period of time. But don't rely on them only. If you are suffering from depression, anxiety, so many disturbances, mental health disturbances that are out there today, seek professional help. That's why we have psychologists, psychotherapists, and I don't understand why, especially men, are very resistant to this idea. But listen, when we are physically sick, we usually get help from a doctor, a nurse, you know, but when we are mentally disturbed, we just keep doing it ourselves, thinking that we're going to find a way out. But the way our mind works is it's like a dog chasing its tail. We keep using the same things we know to use, and it doesn't get anywhere. We need outside help. So pray about it and use a professional that has spent years studying the brain to understand. You know, I'm not saying all of the psychologists are great, just like medical doctors, just like any profession. You have some people that do it for the money, other people do it because they love their profession. And there are many psychologists that are Christians. I don't know anybody here in Europe, but I do know some in the U.S. and in Brazil that speak English that I can refer to you nowadays with the global technology. They're doing consultations online. Obviously, they will need to see you, to see your response, your facial expressions, your physical expressions, but it has been working just fine as if you were doing face-to-face with the person. It's amazing. It's very helpful. So if you are suffering from any mental health disorders or you know somebody and they are not getting professional help, a lot of times they just take medication. The moment they'll stop the medication, the thoughts are there. They will not go away. We need to work with them, you know. So this principle is unbelievable. You can look in your life in any situation and you're going to find this. Thought, feeling, behavior. The behavior is the last part of this process. I like to compare this process with an iceberg. We all know that the top part, out of the water part of the iceberg, is not the problem. That's the minimum part. The lethal problem is under the water because it's the greatest, the biggest part, the deadly part. And that's how it is with this thinking process. The top part is the behavior, is what we see. The thinking is the bottom part. Nobody sees. You don't see what you're thinking. You don't see what others are thinking. But you see the behavior. So usually we try to change the behavior because that's what we see. For an example, If you are gaining weight, you see it. You feel it. So you want to change it, and you start doing diets and exercise. So you're trying to correct the behavior, but that's not where the problem lies. This is where the problem lies. Or you have a child, when you go to the store, they throw a tantrum, and you want that to stop. So you do whatever it takes to stop. And a lot of times kids learn that quickly. Oh, if I throw a tantrum, they'll give me whatever I want, a lollipoppy, a papa candy, whatever. And so they learn quickly, oh, if I do this, I'll get what I want. So the problem is not their behavior, it's the thinking. So we have to start at the source. And that's difficult to do because we have behaviors for a lifetime, especially eating behaviors from childhood, because we learn from our parents, from our grandparents, from friends, and we just carry throughout our lives without ever thinking about it. So one of the things that we have in our manual, as I explained to you, this is a compilation of book and workbook. So it's loaded with exercises where you're going to answer questions that you never asked yourself. You're going to write your thoughts, feelings, behaviors here. So you're going to learn a lot about yourself. And it's not a book like an average book. You just read it and you're done. Well, this you're going to digest it. You're going to read 2-3 pages per day and answer the questions, 1 chapter per week. And then once a week, you're going to be part of a group, a small group, if not a group here that they're going to form. You can create your own group. Find other people that are interested, and then contact me, and we'll figure out a way for them to get the manual. Each one has to have their own because it's a program. It's a psychological program. It's like having a therapist, a psychologist with you, guiding you. And so then you're going to work step by step, slowly, for 3 months. This is a 3-month program, and it will help you tremendously. But, like I said yesterday, this is a great program. We've seen amazing results. But without God's help, it's worth nothing. First thing, you need to fall on your knees and ask God for help. He is the one who created us. He knows exactly how our brain works. We know little compared to what He knows and how He created, And the little we know is in here. So, another thing that is important for us to understand how our brain functions is we have 2 needs that control our subconscious. Our subconscious is the biggest part of our brain. The job of the subconscious, it doesn't know right from wrong. It just is a storage place, like the HD of a computer, the hard drive of a computer. It just stores everything that we experience, that we think, that we feel before we are born. I don't know if you've seen some of the videos of babies inside the womb. They now know that they feel, they hear. That's how come when they come out, they recognize the voice of the mom or the father. It's just amazing. So the brain is already working before we are born. And it is recording in our subconscious. The subconscious never sleeps, ever. It was turned on before we are born, and it will shut off after we die. They say that, I don't know how they figure that out, but sometimes it takes 1 or 2 days to shut off the subconscious after you died. But maybe when you're cremated, I'm sure it shuts it off. But otherwise, so it's like a computer. When you shut off the computer, it takes a few seconds to shut it off because it has to go through the whole system. Imagine how many billions of bits of information that our brain, you can't count it. It's unbelievable. Our brain they cannot understand, very little that they understand. They say, we don't use even 10% of our brain's capability. It's amazing. It is the most amazing computer ever created. Now, our subconscious is the frontal lobe God created to be a filter for us to decide. Is where we have the freedom of choice to choose. Am I going to do this or not? Is it right or wrong? Is it helpful or not? Is it healthy or unhealthy? You know, that's where we decide. The subconscious doesn't know right from wrong. It just stores information. However, the more you repeat a thought or a feeling or a behavior, the stronger that neural pathway will be. And it will guide your behavior automatically. Like, I'll give you an example. Do you need to think to brush your teeth? No. You've done it how many thousands of times? You just do it automatically. Getting dressed, taking a shower. There's so many things that we do automatically. And so this is very important for us to understand. There's two needs that control our subconscious. The need to feel good or pleasure at any cost, or the need to avoid pain or discomfort at any cost. And this principle will guide our decisions if we're not conscious. You know, why do people smoke? They know it's not healthy. Still do it for pleasure, comfort, you know, to avoid pain at the moment. You know, they're stressed out. A lot of people smoke when they're stressed, you know, to avoid pain at the moment or discomfort. So there's so many things that we do or don't do based on these principles. Exercise, for an example. The connection in our subconscious to exercise is that it causes pain, so you're going to avoid it. Because when you start exercising, it actually causes pain. So your subconscious register there, pain. You're going to avoid it at any cost. And I know that because that has been in my life for so many years in the past where I would give all kinds of excuses, and good excuses. It's raining, it's sunshine, it's too hot, it's windy, it's cold, I'm too tired, I have no time, all kinds. But we're really trying to avoid pain or discomfort. And then the connections are distorted in the brain. Things that are healthy nowadays are connected to pain or discomfort. And things that are unhealthy are connected to pleasure or feel good. You know, that's why we do many things, even though we know they're not too good for us. We still do it. So that's why I say we are our worst enemy. It depends on what is recorded in our brain. So I want to share with you my experience about this. Because I knew from little that exercise was good. And as a kid, most of us at my age, when we were kids, we were very active, riding bicycles and running and playing outside, you know. But then as you grow older and you get busy, don't have time for that. And so my husband and I always were very active. We love camping and hiking and canoeing and things like that. But I never liked going to the gym or exercising every day. So I would always go for checkups, and one time I went to the doctor for a checkup. He came back that my cholesterol was very high. And I hadn't changed anything, so I didn't understand why it was very high. So he looked at what I was eating and what I was doing, and I had started the changes. It was after 2004, so I actually had changed for the better. So we shouldn't have raised the cholesterol, should go down actually. So he looked at what I was eating, what I was doing, and he's like, that's not a problem. So he looked at my medical history, and in both sides of my family there were history of high cholesterol. So he said, well, then you have two choices. One, you should take medication for the rest of your life for cholesterol. Two, you should exercise every day for at least 30 minutes. And I always hated medication since I was a kid. I never liked it. So I said, I'm going to take number two. He said, well, I have to warn you. I don't know that that's going to change much. I said, that's okay. I'll still try it anyways. Give me 3 months. and I'm going to see if it'll change. So, knowing what I know, what I just reviewed with you guys, how our subconscious work, how our conscious work, the two needs that control our subconscious, they need to what? Let's see if you kept that information. What are the two needs that control our subconscious? Feel good or pleasure at any cost. They need to avoid pain or discomfort at any cost. Right on. And so what I did is I went to the internet and I print out myself a list. There's thousands of benefits outside and inside when you practice exercise regularly. So I just made a list of the most important ones, and I shared that list on chapter 2, I think. One side I put the benefits of exercise, both physically and mentally. And on the other side, I put the negative consequences if I didn't exercise every day. And I wrote some serious things there that could happen, pretty strong ones, but could happen, because my doctor said, if your cholesterol keeps raising like this every year, you have a heart attack pretty soon. That scared me. So I thought, okay, I need to change. And so put on that list of the negative consequences, premature death, and just kept going on the negative consequences. Then I put that piece of paper in my bedroom where I could read every day, several times a day. And I bought myself, I don't know what it's called here, elliptical? We call it a gazelle in the U.S. It looks like you're skiing because you move your legs and your arms. What do you call it here? Elliptical? Yeah? So cross trainer? Okay. So I bought one of those and put it in my bedroom. So there will be no excuses. Sunshine, rain, wind, whatever. But knowing what I know, I knew that I had to start with my thinking, because remember the process. Everything starts with a thought. You feed on that thought, it becomes a feeling. You feed on that feeling, it becomes a behavior. And my behavior was horrible. I was avoiding exercise at any cost. So I read that for a week, several times, so I was creating a neural pathway in my brain about the benefits of exercise. It was like I was trying to convince my subconscious that this is a good thing to do. So first week, I started 5 minutes a day. What is 5 minutes? Nothing. But I wanted to go slow and not find resistance from my subconscious, But it's amazing how you find resistance. 5 minutes, my heart is coming out of my mouth, and my brain is screaming, stop, stop. And I'm like, shut up, I'm working. Shut up, I'm working. And that's what I kept doing. And I kept increasing till I got to 30 minutes a day. And then for 3 months, I exercised 30 minutes a day. And I even figured out a way to put a book holder in my machine, because I love to read. It was boring to just exercise and just be looking at the wall, So I figured out a way to keep myself busy and doing it. So 3 months passed, and I went back to the doctor with my results. And it was amazing. He was shocked. He said he'd never seen it. My cholesterol dropped 100 points with exercise. I hadn't taken any medication. And so he said, in your case, exercise is not a choice, it's a need. Don't ever ask yourself, do you want to do it? Because the answer is going to be no. For how many years? 40 some years you haven't done it. So the answer is going to be no. Do I want to? The answer is going to be no. So don't ask, just do it. The same way you eat to live, you sleep every day, you drink water, you have to exercise. That's it. Don't give yourself a choice. That has to be part of your routine. So I'm sharing that I hope you do the same thing. You start putting those thoughts in your mind. This has to be part of my daily routine, period. You want to be healthy? You have to exercise. Whether you walk, you ride a bike, you plant a garden and tend the garden, it doesn't matter. The problem is, in our subconscious, the word exercise is negative. So it's going to avoid at any cost. Our subconscious is going to be telling you, don't do it, don't do it, it's painful. But who is in control? God gave you a conscience to choose. So I want to tell you something. Sometimes I hear my patients say, oh, I don't like to eat lentils, or I don't like to eat brown rice, or I was like that too. Who controls you? Your mouth or your mind? Liking or disliking is a choice. You choose. You know, little kids don't understand. They cannot make a right choice. But we are adults. So we can choose to like it or not. Anything. You know, I think I should share a little bit. I didn't like brown rice. But once I learned that brown rice, not brown rice, I'm sorry. All the processed stuff I shared yesterday, they have no nutritional value. There are no benefits to us. White pasta, white rice, white bread, whatever white things, they have no benefit, no nutrition, but on top of it, they cause inflammation in our body. And one more thing that I forgot to tell you guys. 2 months ago, I learned this from a gastroenterologist, that they were doing a study on thyroid problems. So many people having thyroid problems, nodules, and it's like, why? What's happening? This was not normal in the past. Now it's becoming normal. Men chew. And a lot of times you don't even know. I found out I had a nodule in my thyroid just a couple years ago. I don't feel anything different, so I never knew. It doesn't show in any blood work. This doctor is telling me there is a chemical that they put on processed food. I don't know what it's called in English. I wonder if it is potassium bromate. Do you say that? Bromate potassium. That's what it is. It causes nodules in your thyroid. How about that? I ate white bread, white pasta, white rice most of my life. And most people do. So then, the day I learned that, it's like, okay, I'm going to stop that. I don't need that. It's delicious, yeah. I'm addicted to it. So I need to stop that. I don't need more inflammation in my body. So, but how to change that? I couldn't do it by myself. So I fell on my knees. Lord, please. I need to like brown rice. I don't like it. But I'm going to choose to like it because you made it. It wasn't men that made it. So I started putting vegetables and garlic and onions, and I love brown rice now. There's nothing I don't like that God made. Nothing. Because I choose to like it. So you can choose to like whatever and dislike, or I don't like white rice anymore. I don't like it. I put it in my mouth. It's like, I don't want to eat this. So, but it's day by day work. It's not in one day that happens, you know. So, you can change anything if you choose to. You have to use the conscience God gave you. He gave us free will. He will not force us. He gave us the laws of health. But we can choose to use it or not. And Satan is certainly working hard to control our minds. I was reading. Do you have your cell with you? Somebody sent me this. It gave me goosebumps. Sometimes I feel like Satan now has free range to do whatever he wants. There is citation on the book Temperance that Ellen White wrote that is scary. And I'm going to ask Sister Grace when she finds it to read it for us. So anyways, we're going to continue here. Our habits are formed in our brains with the repetition of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. That's how our habits are formed. For an example, most of us always laces our shoes the same way, usually starting with the right foot, then the left one, or vice versa. We don't even think about it. We just do it because we've done it millions of times, you know? And so what habits are They are neural pathways in our nervous system. And I'll show you a picture of it. But before I show you a picture of that, another thing that I want you to know that is very, very scary. 2008, scientists discover, and they were talking about this, that 70% of the time, because of the advancement in technology, 70% of the time we are on autopilot, doing things without thinking, doing what we're used to do. We're becoming like robots. We're just not aware of it. And only 30% conscious. Remember what I said, the subconscious doesn't know right from wrong. It doesn't choose healthy, unhealthy, nothing. It just acts according, it controls us. And we act according to what is the strongest neural pathway in there. 2016, more than 90% of our time is on autopilot. That's scary. Because we don't know what is recorded in here. It records, our subconscious records everything that goes around us. And I'll give you an example. They were studying the brain, they're always studying, trying to figure out how it works. So they had an idea. They want to figure out how long would it take for someone to start cussing without knowing. So they got this guy that worked in the computer department. He was a very polite guy. You never hear a cuss word from his mouth. Is that what you say, cuss words? Cussing words? Not curse? So bad words. Okay, so it is. So it's the same. Yeah, I know sometimes it's different. It's close. Okay. So this guy was very polite. You never hear a bad word from his mouth. So, but they put him on the, they're discussing which one is it. They put him on the security department of this place where I want to say 90% of the words they spoke were cuss words or bad words. And, but this guy didn't know. He just volunteered. He didn't know what was the experiment. So he was sitting there doing his work in the computer. But you know what? His subconscious is recording everything that happens around. You know how long it took him to start saying bad words without knowing? 7 days. 7 days, because the neural pathway was pretty strong already. He was hearing it all day long. Though he wasn't paying attention, his subconscious was recording. Our subconscious records everything. You be passing by a street or, an avenue, and there's signs and billboards, and you may not be paying attention, but your subconscious is recording everything. I'll give you an example. In Las Vegas, I was shocked when I saw this billboard. Do you call billboards here? Come sin in our casino. Sin. Because they talk about the 7 greatest sins, In Las Vegas, people drink. They get free drinks in the casino if they're gambling, smoking, all kinds of prostitution. So it's like, wow. And that, you're passing by and seeing it, and it's recording everything, whatever is happening around you. If you're among people and they're talking and you're sitting there, you're not talking, it's recording, even though you're not paying attention. So when we learned this, the first thing we would ask our patients that were suffering from insomnia was, do you sleep with your TV on? Because that's a bad habit they have in the U.S. The TV is on all the time. I hate that. I mean, nobody's watching, and the TV is on for the flies. I don't know. So, but your subconscious is recording everything. So if you're sleeping, you don't know what they're showing there. All the studies that were done, I'm sure you heard here, of all this, for the last 15 years, there's crazy things happening in the U.S. All this shooting in schools, kids taking guns and killing other kids. And you're like, how can that be happening? First of all, how can a kid have access to a gun? I don't understand that. But they do. And you know what? It is all linked to the neural pathways to the subconscious. These children were allowed to watch violent movies since they're little. You know, because you think, oh, they don't understand, so it's okay. We'll go to the theater and watch this movie, an action movie, and this and that, and all bad words. And it's all recording in their brain. All the video games, violent video games, they're allowed to play. So when they go and shoot, it's normal. In their subconscious, they're just doing what is recorded in there. It's a game. You know, that's scary. So we need to have our conscious on more than 10% of the time. 10% of the time is nothing. And that's what I said. We're eating unconsciously because we've been doing for so long. You don't think about what you're eating. How's that going to affect your body? How is that going to affect your thinking, your spirituality? We're not thinking about it, but this is very important to understand. So here's a picture of our neural pathways. There's thousands of miles of neural pathways in our brain. Of course, it's microscopic, but you can see big ones, small ones. It's just unbelievable. So, one of the first ones to talk about this was a plastic surgeon. He figured out, studying his patients post-surgery, it took them about 21 days to change their behavior and stick to a plan. And so that was what came out, and everybody was talking about that it takes 21 days to create a new habit or to eliminate an old habit. And for years, that was the rule or the idea. Well, nowadays, they say it's 66 days. Really? How much do we know? That's what we think, you know. God knows. So I'm grateful that God gave us the idea to create this program for 90 days. So it's more than 66 days where you're going to be working with your conscious and helping you destroy neural pathways that are so strong in your brain and create new ones. So I want to share this experience with you because it was one of the studies. They've done thousands of studies to figure this out, how it works. But one very important one, and I had the privilege in 2000, I think it was 2004 or 2005, that I watched this seminar about neural pathways. It was mind-blowing. It is so fascinating to me. So the experiment they did is this guy volunteered also for them to study his brain. Now, I'm sure you have seen, they can put cameras inside of us. They do surgery with cameras, laparoscopic surgeries, so they don't need to cut you open anymore. I seen one live where the doctors are working through the camera. They see on a big screen, and they have like 3 little holes here, and they put tubes in there. It's just amazing how they do it. And so they decided to put a camera in this guy's brain. Don't ask me because they didn't share. How did they figure out where would this neural pathway be starting? But they're trying to figure out how can we start a neural pathway. So they decided to say a sentence. Maybe they created a sentence that this guy never heard. And so they start saying it. They didn't tell us how many times they said, but they kept repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. Within 21 days, that neural pathway, microscopically, it was like a huge steel cable, very strong. So then they decided, okay, now how can we destroy this one? So they studied and decided, you know what? We're going to create another sentence that is the opposite of this one, and let's see what happens. And the amazing thing, they showed pictures. We saw short circuit, like a short circuit with sparks on it, on that neural pathway. And they start doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. I don't know how many times a day. But the amazing thing is, in 21 days, well, it kept shrinking every time. Every time it was like receiving an electric current, a short circuit. And it was shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. By the end of 21 days, that neural pathway, poof, disappeared. Now, isn't that amazing? Now, what that tells you and me is that no matter your past, no matter your DNA, no matter if you had so many traumas, you were sexually abused, physically abused, verbally abused, it doesn't matter what happened to you. You can change. You can change the route of your life by God's grace. Isn't that amazing? In the past, science thought that you can never change your DNA. Now, how fair would that be? That means then you have the fate of your parents and your ancestors, and that's not fair because you may be doing everything right and they did everything wrong. God is a merciful God, an amazing God, the most intelligent being in the whole universe. So you can change. Now, a blessing that happened to me is a week after I watched this seminar on neural pathways. I had a girl coming to my office, and she was 13 years old. She had attempted suicide twice already. I've been a psychotherapist for more than 20 years, so I have worked with a lot of mental health issues. I worked for several years with sexually abused children and adults too, seen a lot of things. And the first thing that came to my mind is that that girl probably was sexually abused, because why would she want to take her life? What was so painful that she want to kill herself? So she came to my office with her mom, and I noticed that she didn't dress up very nicely. She didn't look me in the eyes. Her hair was all messed up. So she was pretty, but she was behaving as an ugly person. She wasn't going to school. She was homeschooled because she didn't want to see anybody. So I asked her, why did you want to kill yourself? She said, because I think I'm the ugliest person in this world. Wow. So knowing what I know, we know that depression, anxiety, there's always a beginning. Always. Whether it's a trauma, a crisis, something happened to start that thinking, then becoming a feeling, and then a behavior. The behavior is the last thing. So I start asking questions. One by one. Did somebody die in the family? No. Did the parents get divorced? A lot of times that affects the children's behavior. No. Did you guys move to another city? No. Move school? No, nothing. The answer was always no. So I thought, well, maybe she has a vision problem and she can't see it right. Because I asked her, I had a big mirror in my office, and I asked her to describe to me what she saw. And she described a monster. That's why I thought she had vision problems, because that was not so. She was pretty. She just wasn't dressing pretty. But, so I asked the mom, did you take her to an eye doctor? And she said, yes, we did. She has no vision problems. Now I want you to pay attention to this. How strong the neural pathways can be and controls us. Our obese patients that would have the bariatric surgery, even though we took pictures monthly, we work with them 6 months prior to surgery and then 1 year after surgery, for 1 year after surgery. We would ask them to keep their biggest outfit, as memory, to remind them where they were and where they are now. But average, it takes 1 year for them to see the real picture of them in the mirror. They don't see it. Because for probably 20, 30 years, they have seen this heavy person. Even though they see the outfit they had before and they see the pictures, they physically don't see it in the mirror. Isn't that crazy? So the neural pathways are much stronger than us. It's unbelievable. It controls us, And so No vision problem. I start praying, saying, God help me. How? I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. So I asked her, how long ago did you start thinking about being ugly? Oh, I don't know. I asked the mom, how long did this behavior start? She said, well, maybe a couple years ago. Now mind me, couple years ago, she was 11 years old. She was just a kid. I said, so did you have a fight with a friend, or was somebody mean to you or told you mean things? And she remembered that she had a friend, boy. And you know how boys are at that age. They're not very interested in girls at that age. And she was in love with him. She was a kid. And she decided to tell him. And his response was like any boy would tell, I would never date you because you're ugly. Maybe he was joking with her, you know, probably. One word. You know? One word. Like I said yesterday, words are very powerful. We don't know that, but they are. It's unbelievable. And so, remember, thought, feeling, behavior starts with the thought, everything. You feed on that thought, it becomes a feeling and then a behavior. So she kept feeding that lie that she was ugly, and she believed in that, and it became a feeling, and then it became a behavior, and then she didn't want to live anymore, to the point of wanting to die, of being ashamed to go outside. She would hide herself, not going to school, not going in public. Wow. So I'm so grateful that I attended the seminar. I shared with them what I had learned from the seminar. And then she said, what are we going to do? I said, well, we're going to do the same thing they did in the experiment. The moment you think, I'm ugly, I want you to tell yourself you're pretty, you're beautiful, you're the daughter of the King of the universe. How could you be ugly? And she had a smirk on her face, and she said, that's stupid. I said, why stupid? Because I don't believe I'm pretty. I don't believe I'm beautiful. I said, well, I mean, that was God right there giving me the answer, because it's like, wow, what do I say to that? I told her, I don't care what you believe, because you've been believing in a horrible lie. You are not ugly. You didn't feel like that before you heard that word. And so it doesn't matter what you believe, because a lot of times we believe in lies. A lot of times lies were told to us since we were kids, by other people, and we don't know better as kids, so we believe in it. So we have one chapter here about belief system and how they're formed and how to confront them and choose whether you're going to continue to believe that or not. It is a choice. You can choose to. You don't need to carry it on just because your parents believe that, or your teacher, or whoever. You know, you're an adult. You can choose to believe what you want to believe. And so I asked help for her parents, the teachers, to make posters and put throughout the house, you know, encouraging posters about beauty and how pretty she was and this and that. And I wish I had taken a before picture and an after picture. It wasn't 21 days. Her neural pathway was so huge, it took 3 months to destroy the neural pathway. But that neural pathway was like 2 years old. It was huge. Now imagine some of the behaviors we have with food that are your age. And you think within 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, you're going to change that? No, it takes time. By God's grace, yeah, we can change that. But you have to be persistent. So if you want to change a behavior with whatever, not exercising, going to bed late, not sleeping enough, the 8 laws of health, or you don't want to eat more cheese, or you want to change this or that, fall on your knees first. Ask God for help. And then you start working. Start researching. Why shouldn't I eat this? Or why should I do this? You're researching. You're working with your thinking to change. Because it's going to do you no good to start changing your behavior first. You're going to fail eventually. like you have so many times and I. So then God will give you victory. It took 3 months, but it was a totally different person that walked out of my office for the last time. 3 months of daily work on the near pathways, changing the habits. We have good habits, but we have some pretty nasty habits too. We all have. You know, some of them we acquire from childhood, from our parents. Now, I don't know, were you able to find it? Would you read for us? Listen to this carefully. And it's on the book Temperance, chapter 2. Yeah. I don't know what page. Satan gathered the fallen angels together to devise some way of doing the most possible evil to the human family. One proposition after another was made, till finally Satan himself thought of a plan. He would take the fruit of the vine, also wheat and other things given by God as food, and would convert them into poison, which would ruin man's physical, mental, and moral powers, and so overcome the senses that Satan should have full control. You understand this? This is amazing. We see now so many people allergic to gluten. It's poisoning the food for how long? Putting all kinds of chemicals that we're addicted to it, that weakens us physically, mentally, and morally. That's what he's doing. We need to wake up. We can't be sleeping no more. There's no more time to mess around. He is taking over, and by God's grace, we can have victory, but it's only if we fall on our knees. There is no other way. We're just about done. The body must be a servant to the mind, not the mind to the body. Testimonies for the church. When we neglect our body, we neglect our mind, because one affects the other. What I eat, what I drink, every single thing that I put in my mouth will affect my mind, will affect my moral standards, will affect my spirituality. We just don't know this. I didn't know this either. And Satan for sure doesn't want us to know this. So please start reading, start researching. Please read her books about health. And you're going to learn so many things. It's unbelievable. Things that science is proving now. And we're reading more than 100 years ago is in there. So to have victory over any addiction, we need to be on our knees. There is no other way. No other way. Remember, and I'll repeat, addictions, unhealthy habits, and diseases are traps from our enemy to enslave us and destroy us. I get sad when I see, and the majority of people, they'll hear this message, and they agree with it, but they will not change because it's too hard to change. And like myself for many years, I loved my chocolate so much that I did not ask God for help. Because believe me, if you ask, he will immediately answer you. He will take away the desire. You can't do that. You're fighting with Satan yourself. You have no power over him. But you call God's help, and boy, he'll come to your help. So what is it that you're worshiping? Is it chocolate? Because it becomes an idol. It becomes an idol when we don't want to surrender it to God. And I speak from experience. I'm not here to step on your toes, but to tell you the truth, which I lived for so many years. I had shackles on my feet for so long. And now I'm paying high price with the diseases I'm taking care of. Challenge again. Learn to eat to live and not live to eat. There's no way to be healthy if you're going to live to eat and just feed your desires that are killing you slowly. But we're not aware. Oh, it's okay. They're just this one. I'm not going to give up this one. You know, like I said, I did that until the diseases get to you. So if you don't take care of your health today, you have to take care of your diseases tomorrow. There is no other way around it. But the good thing is, if you follow God's plan, now, we need to be reasonable. For 30 years, I abused my health. Okay? 30. Didn't pay attention to my health at all. Well, now, I want to be cured in one day. God can do it, yes. But Sister White says that when we pray for healing, this is pretty strong and scary. And when we continue on the wrong path, God will not answer this prayer because he would be like a conceding father that he's going to cure you and you're going to continue to do wrong. He doesn't want you to do wrong. So when we change our ways, we decide, Lord, I don't want to do this no more. I cannot change, but I want you to help me. Then he will answer and he will bless you. But otherwise, he can't hear you because he wouldn't be helping you to fix you, and you're going to continue like I've done it for so many times. You know, enough is enough. So I finish with the same verse we started. Let's say it together. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Please memorize this. There is no way to have health if you're going to continue to put the wrong fuel in your machine. It's just not going to work. Our body is very strong. It can take a beat, but eventually it will break. My body is breaking down. Thank God it's not progressing. I don't know if I'm going to be cured. It doesn't matter to me anymore. I made a deal with him. As long as I don't feel pain and my disease doesn't progress, he can use it for his glory to share with people that there is a way. You know, if you follow his plan, the way he created our body is just amazing. It's self-healing. You know, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, how many thousands of years ago said, I'll repeat, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. What kind of medicine are you using? Poisonous? Or are you using God's medicine? What he created for your nurturing, physically, mentally, spiritually. Don't let Satan seduce you. You heard what he's doing with the food, the processed food. That's what he's doing. He's poisoning. He's poisoning it so he can control us physically, mentally, morally, and spiritually. He wants us to think that we're okay because we're coming to church, we're keeping the Sabbath, we're paying tithe, we're fine. No, we're not. If we're disobeying the laws of health, it's like we're breaking the 10 Commandments. That's what Sister White says. You break one, you break it all. So it's serious. It's very serious. And as I said, when I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself, reminding myself that we don't want Satan to control our minds. We want God to control our minds. Because all Satan wants is to destroy us. God wants us to be healthy. And he might take a little while. I want to encourage you guys, take advantage of what you have here. You have Manor House. If you don't have the finances to go there for a week, you can go there for a consult. Do some testing to see what's going on and to learn. You know, like I said, there's no excuses nowadays. We have the information in the palm of our hands. And science is telling us now which way to go. I mean, what else do we need? What else do we need? I mean, I hear people all the time. They come to ask me questions when I do the seminars. What about this? What can I do about this? There is no shortcut to have health. You know, with a common medicine, it's you have a headache, you take a pill for headache. But there are side effects to those pills. You know, you have a stomachache, you take, so it's a Band-Aid. Like Arthur was saying, it doesn't go to the source, so it won't be fixed. You're going to continue to use medication. You have to go to the source, find out why. So I was talking to this lady the other day, and she was telling me, oh, but I cannot give up this. I love this, or I love that. I'll tell you, my father. My father was the unhealthy. I love him. I still love him dearly. He was obese. He had a heart attack because his habits were horrible. He ate a lot of fat. And myself, I don't know if they use that here. You know the hump of the bowl? The Brahma bowl has a hump on its back. It's 100% fat. And in Brazil, we have this, they call it churrasco. It's like the traditional food in Brazil. The restaurants, they come with a skewer to your table. You go to this restaurant, and you're going to gorge on meat, all kinds of meat. You pay one price, and you spend 3 hours there eating. And my favorite part was this hump, 100% fat. And my dad had taught me that. And so he had a heart attack, triple bypass. And the doctors, this was 30 years ago, the doctors told him, no more meat for you. None. You have an overdose of fat. You have to stop eating fat. And he became so depressed because he loved meat. And so, but he had to quit because he couldn't continue. He didn't want to die. So then, I think maybe 10 or 15 years later, he had a stroke. He loved sweets. That's whom I learned. You know, he always would bring cakes and sweets at home. Always. You had to have a dessert after every meal. So diabetes set in. The doctor said, no more sweets for you. And you know what he said? I'd rather die. Life has no meaning no more. And we were so mad at him. Dad, come on. You have grandchildren. What are you talking about? Life is about eating. That's your pleasure in life. Isn't there anything else? No, there isn't. And he died pretty soon because he didn't want to give up his sweets. He was a Christian man. Seventh-day Adventist. He was an elder in the church. I love my dad. He taught us so many wonderful things. But that's what I said. Maybe like me, most people don't think that what they eat and what they drink has anything to do with their spirituality. But it has everything to do with it. We just don't know it. Don't understand. But now you do. You're not ignorant no more. So may God bless you. Open your eyes and your heart to understand. Please read. This is an investment. Buy the 5 books I told you about. Ministry of Healing, Counsels on Diet and Foods, Counsels on Health, Temperance, and the Medical Ministry. It's an investment on your health. People out there are reading. You know, people from the New Age philosophy or religion, Buddhists, and the Spiritists, they're reading these books. They are. See? So what are we doing? Let's wake up. I was asleep for so long. So I hope you don't wait for diseases to knock on your door for you to start changing. So may God bless you and help you to start the changes. Our manual costs £50. And sometimes people say, well, that's expensive for a book. Well, it's not a book, first of all. It's a program. It's a psychological treatment. You know, I found out here in England, it costs between 80 to 150, 200 pounds per session if you're going to have a private session with a psychologist or a psychotherapist. One session. There's at least 30 sessions in this material. We paid a lot of money to produce and to create exercises. And how much is your health worth? Is it expensive, 50 pounds? How much do you spend when you go out to eat? One night. So it's up to you. Yes. No, you cannot order online because I don't have a site here. It'll be very expensive to send from the US or from Brazil. But the way it happens, I'm going to figure out with Arthur and Lucille to have it available where we can figure out some ways. If you didn't bring the money today, I have PayPal account, so you can whoever wants to take it, I want you to put your name, your email, your phone number, and then if you didn't come prepared, you can take it and then you're going to make a deposit on PayPal account. So God bless you. Let's stand up and pray. And then, one more thing.
Is it possible to, if there's any questions that has been burning since yesterday, and there's a few questions or a question that you might want to ask before we leave.
So, 20 years ago, allergies were very rare, right? Allergies were very rare. Nowadays, it's very common. And mainly is because of the processed stuff that we're eating. We already have more than thousands of hormones, chemicals, natural chemicals in our body. And then we put in unnatural chemicals. And it becomes a war inside of us, you know. So, hold on just a second, Arthur. I have change in this, if they need change. There's one, and there's here. Just a second, I'll finish. Yeah, that's it. I need to leave 10 for the church. The church is buying 10, so that's it. So, what is happening is, you know, the animals are not eating meat today is not the same as eating meat 10, 20 years ago. The animals are injected. I want to encourage you guys to watch one of those documentaries that is called Cowspiracy. And so they show how the cattle is being cared for and what they're using. A lot of hormones, growth hormones, so they grow faster. So they produce milk faster. And they're producing, you know, you cry when you see what they're doing to the cattle, to the cows, to give us milk. And so then the allergies are coming. So allergies to nuts is not because just of the nuts. It's because of all the chemicals that are inside of us in raging war. So if you are obviously allergic to nuts, I would recommend you guys go spend a week there at Manor House or any other lifestyle centers to do a detox. And as you start eating clean things and following God's law, the eight laws of health, your body's going to be cleaning, and eventually you're not going to have those allergies. You know, but now, and look what they're doing to the wheat. You know, there's so many genetically modified things. It's like, oh my gosh, we need to move away and plant our own things because they're just distorting everything. And I know here in England, you are safer yet. But you know that Monsanto, which it was the biggest food industry in the U.S., Nestle bought Monsanto. So it's here in Europe already. It's just about time it's going to change. You know, well, right there. I mean, this is what she said. It's Satan's plan. It's not just man's plan. Right. That is true. So that's when God comes into play. We do our part, he does his. And that's what I pray. I travel a lot, so sometimes all there is available is processed food. I don't want to eat it, so I'll eat fruits and vegetables, but maybe they're not organic. They have pesticides in it. I pray, I said, Lord, I'm doing my part. Please bless this. It may not cause me harm. So we do our part. He knows that. And he'll do his. Anything else? You know, you can go put my WhatsApp and you can, or send me an email. I will respond unless I'm in an airplane flying somewhere, then I won't be able to, but I will respond. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or it's not going to work. Yes. 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 You know, it's amazing because I'm reading now Sister White's books about health. You go to the Ministry of Healing and there's one chapter about mental health. And it blows your mind. The things she says there is like, how did she know that? Freud was the father of psychology. Nobody was saying this before. How did she write this before psychology exists? Because the best psychologist ever was Jesus. You know, so I'm not following that. You know, we use, different approaches. But really, the Bible should be our guide. And the spirit of prophecy. That's why we're called Seventh-day Adventists. That's the message of our church, you know. So let's use it. Let's read it and use it. So I don't know if there is any other questions. Yes. House? Yes. So remember Lucille, she's a nurse. And she is specialized in sickle cell. So she has a lot more experience. I don't have experience. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a psychotherapist. So, I'm sorry? Yes, yes. People can go there for an assessment. You go there for the morning, you spend 2 or 3 hours there, and she'll talk to you and she'll do assessments and looking for the cause. Not just a Band-Aid. Oh, take this and that's going to help. We want to get to the bottom of it, you know, to the cause. Why is this happening? And obviously, it doesn't cost anything for you to apply the 8 laws of health. You just need to start. And it's not just applying 3 and the others you're not paying attention because it's not going to work. You know, we need to apply all of them, but I know not in one day you're going to be doing all of them. You start and pray and ask God for strength. And every day you keep going. And if you fall, it doesn't matter. God doesn't count how many times we fall. It's how many times you get up and you keep going. Every day is a blank page for us to write our story of that day. Chris. Yes. They can take it. He only, that would like, yes, no, they can have it. Pastor has only 10. He asked me to reserve 10. So the rest of it can go. There was 17, 13. So let's get the 10 and the rest of it can go. And if you guys need more, there's a few more. Oh, so there you go. He's coming back. So yes, they're for sale. They're for sale. It's 50 pounds. And so we're going to reserve 10. Whoever buys it puts your name, email, and phone number, because I like to maintain contact and encourage you guys. And Pastor wants to have at least 2 groups here happening. So he wants to use it for people that are non-Adventists, because like I said, this material is not Adventist, is not Christian. It's a scientific material. You're not going to find any Bible verses or Ellen White citations. But you know, they have recorded every session that I've done here, and is online, so you can watch it and pass it on to other people, you know, and watch it over and over again. Just ask them for the link. So you can watch more. Did we take the 10 out? One more question? Sure, please come and take a look. Any more questions while I'm here? Yes.
On behalf of Leicester Central Church, Rachel. Rachel, we'd just like to thank you for coming on behalf of Leicester Central Church. This is my home church, and we certainly like to wish you the very best. We know that you're going to be here for 8, maybe 9 more weeks, and you might find that some of my friends will come up and see us. You're more than welcome. Anyone who would like to come and pop up and not to stay at Manor House, but even if you just want to pop up and visit Manor, you're going to be here for just for 2 weeks, and then you're going to be going to different places, and then. I'm going to London this weekend, and I'm going to be there for 10 days. Oh, you? Yeah, it just happened. So you know, time is but you've got a program. Yeah, we've got a program at our place, so you will be coming and going. Okay. Ooh. But before everybody can we just close with a word of prayer? We're giving you thanks very much for coming. Our heads are bowed. Our kind Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for your love for us. We thank you, Lord, for the blessings that have showered upon each one. We thank you for the Mind Over Desire ministry which Rachel has brought to us this weekend here at Leicester Central Church. I pray, O God, that the lessons that we have learnt, that we might be able to put each one into practice. We thank you, Lord, for the health message. We thank you, Lord, that you have given us the desire to improve our health. And by doing so, Lord, we're able to worship you better and follow your instructions better, and to be a better example to our fellow men. And I pray, O God, that you might bless this ministry and bless this church for your name's sake. Amen.
On behalf of the church.
Oh, on behalf, so you can.
Yes, just on behalf of the church, I would like to thank Arthur and also Rachel for giving us a blessed weekend with regards of our health, because sometimes we do not stop to think about the things we eat. And this is a great reminder that we have the third angel's message, which is our health. So I'm just thankful that they're able to come and share with us and enlighten us as a path that we have to go. And as I sat here today, a couple of, they were talking about, oh, we need to organize a trip to visit Manor House. Yes? So it's something that we are going to look at. So those of you who are interested, we will have a van organized and a group of us can come together and visit Manor House and see exactly, and take it from there basically. Okay? So if you have an interest, you can see me and then we can work on that one. So thank you all, and I hope we put all of these things in practice now as we nearer the coming of Jesus Christ. We want to have the bodies that will be transformed when Jesus comes. Amen.
Did you have a question? Somebody had a question and I went to answer over there, so I don't know. You have one more. Go ahead. Ah, you have a book. Okay. I need you to put your name and phone number and email so we can keep in touch. Okay? Okay. Thank you. So God bless you, and I hope to hear from you. Take my email or my WhatsApp and then send me messages of how this has blessed you.